It happened a long time ago, but I was so innocent. And the purity of my dedication to my relationship with Spirit is what's moved me through my life. I don't argue with them when they tell me something. If they say, okay, get off the freeway, I get off the freeway. If they say, you know, walk this other way, it can be anything, whatever they're telling me, because something happens right here where there's a heat and a contact. And many times I've had what I call callings, where they go, okay, you're going to drive 3 blocks, you're going to turn left. It's that specific. The most extraordinary, beautiful experiences of my life is when I've been on mission. And the mission can last an hour, it can last maybe, you know, never more than an hour. But when I'm on mission, you can bet there's something really incredible going on. And I don't know about it until the very, very end, because I'm in it.
That must be kind of nice. You're kind of in the now.
It's like stepping into a movie, because you're listening, you're going, oh my, there's a party that's going, oh my God, I don't know where I'm going. Oh, total.
But are you ever worried that because there's good energy and bad energy, well, not so good, negative energy, ever worried that it might be a negative energy that's leading you?
I'm so protected.
Okay.
I could tell you all kinds of stories where
tell us
that
one.
negative was
one?
around.
It's always good to have a personal story.
Well, there was a time I was doing some work at a store, and I have a reason for everything that I do, basically. It seems as though they're orchestrating and I get to choose, but I love people, so I don't like to be isolated. And I was working at this store, and this one day there was a woman that came into the store, and she was so insistent that she had to see me, and she was told that I wasn't available. And she said, well, I have to see her. And she then just sort of disappeared. And she stayed for hours.
Wow, waiting for you.
And I didn't know about this. And so I came off of my assignments and my sessions, and I walked, you know, to the desk, and I was told that a woman was wanted to talk to me, but they were saying, she's really weird. It's really weird. Well, I was looking at how they were expressing themselves, and I got that there was something that was really dark that was going on, because you get the good, the bad, and everything.
Yeah.
And so I walked out of the store. My day was done, and I was walking down the stairs, and something hit me. It just came in on the side of me, and I was walking down the walk, and on this porch, at the very corner of this porch, was this person, and it didn't look human. That's the only way I can explain this to you.
Well, some
it was
people
like it was revealing itself or something. I don't know, but it unglued me. And it was crunched up like this, and its clothes were around it, and it was a woman. And I knew it was the woman that they were talking about, but it was a dark force. And it was penetrating, trying to penetrate into my physical body. And I felt it on my back as I crossed the street. And of course, I was protecting myself. And I got into my car, and I just sat in my car, and I was shaken because I knew what I was dealing with. And this has not been the first time that something...
But she was a real person? She was a woman?
That was a physical being.
Did you ever find out what she wanted?
Oh. No. That's where you avoid.
Well, okay, because you knew. Because somebody might have thought, oh, that poor street woman.
No, have I seen darkness? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Have I had psychic attacks? Not many, but the ones I'll never forget, and I called upon the Holy Spirit.
A psychic attack would be?
You can't move, you're paralyzed, and you can blink. And that's happened a couple times. But then Spirit has knocked me out physically about 3 times in my life, where my life force energy would completely shift and my life would shift.
For better, of course.
Oh, yes.
With the Spirit, yeah.
Yes.
So somebody like me, though, I don't usually get psychic attacks, at least I don't remember having any. Would they be more likely to attack someone who is psychic and has the abilities?
You would be more likely if you're empathic.
Oh, okay. Well, I am
if you're real sensitive.
I am.
Well, you know, if you're
more
more right,
sensitive.
if you're more right brain and you're more sensitive and empathic, you could be a little bit more susceptible. Like my husband went on a business trip, and he definitely is a sensitive himself, and he went on this trip, and I always tell him to clear the hotel rooms.
Which means?
Clean them. Use some sage and say a prayer and clean the energy in a hotel room because of all the people that are sleeping in those beds.
I never thought about that.
And he had his first experience in a psychic attack, and I tell you, when he came home from his business trip, he said, "Now I know what you're talking about." He was very frightened by it. But you know, you just call in the angels.
Then it's the energy people leave behind. That's what we're talking about when you clear houses or clear buildings. It's energy, because energy.
It's residue. Yeah.
Residue is actually. And when we mentioned about you have clients on the phone, and that's because everything's energy. So how does that work? If somebody calls you and has a question, I mean, you have clients all over the country.
Yeah, actually in Europe too. I love talking on the phone because my attention is so focused on the vibration in their voice, the feeling in their voice. I have a photograph of them. So for me, they're right there with me. And my job at that point is for them to experience me from a level of intimacy where the trust is there, and it's like you're talking to somebody that you care about. Yeah. So how I use my voice and how I communicate in those situations, and many times I have had very serious situations, life and death and all kinds of things like that, but I find that I'm very, very blessed to have them respond and send me emails and thank me, and it's the intimacy that I'm really, you know, I think Jesus Christ was intimate.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that that's something that we can emulate. I think we're missing it
everybody.
We're missing it in our society. We don't know our neighbors.
No, I know. We don't seem to care either, you know.
Well, I think there's a lot of us that want
to care.
More intimacy in our life, but I think you have to risk and create it.
I didn't realize you used photographs. So you use a photograph too.
Yes.
So you're reading. Are you picking up the energy from their voice, because you can't?
Oh yeah,
from the photograph.
Yeah, their voice tells me a lot, but it's always nice to have, you know, a picture of the voice and then putting it all together, and it's just as if they're there with me physically. And I used to read people over the radio just with a color palette. I'd have them choose 3 colors, and I was very effective in just doing that. But I found that I needed I got to the point where I needed something more than just looking at pieces of colors or, you know, colored piece of paper. I needed sometimes an imagery or something, because my mind now moves really, really fast.
I remember when you used to use colors, and it wasn't so. I remember I picked out colors for you one time, and I guess what you pick out kind of tells a little about the person and the personality of the person.
Well, you have a lot of green and purple sitting right here.
I do?
Yeah.
What does that
Which
mean?
is really wonderful. Well, I think that's denoting that, first of all, we're having a spiritual subject, and so, and you're a very loving, caring person, and you're on a spiritual path. So those 2 colors basically are saying where you're at in your life right now. So your heart is very, very open, and you're interested in other people who are on a spiritual path. So you're going to attract and magnetize into your life a lot of those people. We both magnetize those into our life, which is the party. Hello.
Yeah, I remember when I did my other show, you know, it was like I never lacked for guests. I mean, one show would end, another guest would show up, and I guess you're right. Well,
More interesting than the other.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Just,
kept attracting them, and that's what we're doing with this program too.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked before about emotions, really powerful in affecting your health. So as a medical intuitive, how do you see emotions affecting our biology?
I'll tell you just a couple tiny, tiny little stories to make the point. There was a man who went to Africa who had never been there before, and he was taking, or he was looking at the poverty, he was looking at the contaminated water. I mean, what his eyes and his senses were experiencing. Within 24 hours, he had such a bad case of diarrhea. And it's because he took what he saw and felt, and he was outraged, and he took it to his gut.